Yes. Namaskar, my dear friends. I'm back again. Today I'm going to talk about why it's important to visit the ashram from time to time. I think the answers are really obvious, but let me tell you some experiences that I have, difference that I feel of having to visit the ashram and why I really want to go visit again and again. And let's start with the most obvious answer. The feeling is really different. Visiting an ashram really feels holy. It feels like a holy space, a divine space. Like you can really almost taste it when you step into the atmosphere. That is if you're sensitive, of course. I think the closest thing I could relate it to is visiting cathedrals. While I was in Europe, I visited a lot of cathedrals. When I walk into the cathedrals, there's always this sense of awe. I think the architecture also helps with it because, oh my god, the architecture is so ornate, so beautiful. And I could compare it to that. And a lot of the cathedrals in Europe are really busy. There's a lot of foot traffic. I feel like in the ashram there is as well. However, like certain spaces, they're very conscious about how they walk. So the lesser noise of foot traffic also really helps with the feeling of what there is to feel in that space. The only ashram that I've really visited is the one in Tennessee, though the architecture is not as ornate in comparison to the cathedrals I have visited. But I think it doesn't need it. Like the whoosh feeling of what is in there is more potent than it is in other places that I visited, that I would say is holy and divine and sacred. And in an ashram, after visiting, there's always this feeling that's being fired up, the feeling of unworldly longing to go the distance. And there's also a feeling, like a personal feeling that I have while visiting the ashram is that I can compare to when I was young. It's usually on Sundays where I feel like I really didn't have a care in the world. I feel like there's no tomorrow, there was no yesterday. And my Sundays were still. I just look at nature, the sky, really the sky and the trees and how the branches sway. And when the sun sets, it's just so beautiful being present in that moment, feeling like there's nothing else going on but this moment. That's how it feels like to me in the ashram. And my mind slows down and I feel like I don't have to worry about any darn thing. Also, another good reason to visit the ashram is the food. And it's not just the taste of the food, but it's also the quality of the food that we're eating at the ashram. It makes me feel grateful for the food that I'm eating, especially because we eat in silence, like in the Bhiksha hall. It's a very, very conducive space to be eating, to have a date with your food, because it's only myself and the food. And there's always that sense of gratitude that, oh my god, food, you're so delicious and nutritious, and thank you for being one with me. That is the date with my food. It is actually a very romantic interaction, I would say. The food has never disappointed me at the ashram. Third good reason to visit the ashram is the ashram's always sadhana focused. The ashram offers, at least in Triple I, they offer sadhana correction from time to time, be it Shambhavi, yoga asanas. Basically, those are the two that I've seen a lot when I was there. They probably have other program corrections available. I just wasn't there long enough to see it. And it gives me time to focus on my sadhana and recalibrate my sadhana. And I love the fact that we can never use the excuse that there's no time for sadhana, because there is always time for sadhana. Everyone talks about it. It's expected that we do sadhana while we're there. And because it's so sadhana focused, you would want to do sadhana. And you'll get to enjoy doing sadhana. Fourth good reason to visit the ashram, at least in Tennessee, is because of its wonderful big grounds covered in nature. Being soaked in nature just keeps me reminded that I'm so small. I'm just a tiny part of nature. Yet it also reminds me that I am indeed part of nature, part of this vastness. The irony that it reminds me I'm so small yet so big at the same time. And I'm always in awe with reverence that nature tests me all the time. Yet it embraces me in an incredible, profound way. While I was there, it was so funny because it was so cold, like really cold, bitterly cold, while I was walking around. And when the sun started to come out, like it was so warm. The coldness slowly fades away, and this warm embrace you can feel through your bones. It was so wonderful. And you realize that in this life, you don't expect nature to adjust to you. I have to adjust to nature, to be one with it. Because not being one with it just disconnects me from life. It's a wonderful reminder that we have to be one. We have to be one. And the fifth wonderful reason to visit the ashram is the time for goodbye. Because when it's that last day, you would always want to come back for more. That wanting to grow deep inside me, I just have to come back. That's what it is. It kind of reminds me of my grandma. Going to the ashram reminds me of my grandma. Because I remember growing up, my grandma would always give us a bag of food, sweets, anything that we could share for the rest of the days. That's what the ashram is. Gives you a lot. Gives you a lot of grace to take with you and share with everyone you meet along the way. Namaskar. So yes, you guys, do visit the ashram. It's a wonderful place. And we can see each other there. Until next time. Bye. Mwah.